Well, okay, there's nothing stopping us now. It's March 23rd. It's 2016 for crying out loud. And despite what you see on the screen, I left that up there just so everybody could understand. That's the last time that we had a episode put together for the Media Communications BS Hour. I mean the MCBS Hour. I always get that mixed up, and it's such a challenge to get it right. But it's actually this is the day it is. It's March 23rd, 2016. Almost just shy of 2 years. Wow, since the students took this over for a long time, and then it even sat dormant. What do you think of that? I got Pete with me here. Pete, how's GoTo working? Everything coming through okay?
Hey, sound loud and clear. The transmission is back. It's just sort of like we didn't even like skip a beat from that April date. So awesome.
Not
Loud
at
and
all.
clear.
Not at all. No sunspots either because you're coming through beautifully on my end as well. All right. Well, let me then just take us into some fancy intro footage. We're gonna add some music in a future episode. It'll sound like and then we'll get somebody that knows what they're doing to cut it together, and it'll be awesome. But this is what we're talking about right here. This is Full Sail University, Winter Park, Florida. Pete and I aren't on campus right now, but we are, I think I can safely say, both in Central Park, Florida. And what a beautiful March day. Spring is definitely sprung. And have you ever seen such a beautiful sky, Pete?
Man, it is like a chamber of commerce day today. Gorgeous. And as you can see from the drone doesn't lie.
Right,
There you
right. Those puffy clouds are totally legit. Well, as we often do with the MCBS Hour, we like to kick things off with media in the news. And there's a lot of news to be talked about, and we're just going to scratch the surface today. We're hardly going to talk about, let's say, even 10% of what's maybe out there as far as media and the news goes. And this maybe doesn't even qualify as news, but I thought Pete would really appreciate that the last time we were on the air, so was Dave Letterman. He was out there having his guests come out and still behaving himself. He hadn't even entered that phase of retirement where he seemed to be drinking on air. he was right there behaving himself and everything. And a picture came out just today that really lets you know that a lot of time has passed and that Dave is really enjoying his retirement. I am so
go. No way.
I'm just straight up proud, honestly. I mean, if you've been in the public eye for that long, I mean, he's still jogging too, so kudos for that because
Wow.
I haven't gone out and jogged today, but he's probably wanted a beard for like 20 years.
That's got to be drone footage, by the way.
Yeah.
How do you get that shot?
I don't know. Just for some perspective before we move on, I also wanted to show you that you can go forward in time, but you can also go back in time. And if you can believe it, that's when it all began. That's when it all began. And I got to tell you, I was a huge Dave Letterman fan. Very, very influential as a late night talk host in my life.
And still miss him. I mean, it's a hard area to really fill because of just who he was, and just watching him over the years. I mean, look at that right there. That's a media life, folks, right there. That's
right.
A media life.
Right. And that retirement looks sweet. Well, it's only a day after some shocking news of another terrorist attack, and while the MCBS Hour does not focus so much on world news because we let the journalists handle that, we do like to talk about how media impacts some of these very large events because our world is not like it was before. A shocking event like what happened yesterday, 20 years ago, would have a completely different set of bullet points to talk about. And it's a new world, and here's a couple examples of how Belgium has been handling itself in the wake of the tragedy. one great example was one of their local internet providers, Telenet. Telenet offers hotspots, and if you're a customer, you can log on with your Wi-Fi device wherever you are. If you're not a customer, they have a pay-as-you-go option. So if you, let's say you're in the middle of the city and the coffee shop you're at doesn't have free Wi-Fi, but the Telnet covers you, you can log on and pay as you go if you're not a customer. Telenet offered everybody, they just opened up their Wi-Fi to everybody for absolutely free, customers or not, as a service because there was so much phone traffic with people calling loved ones, interagency phone calls going back and forth. Obviously, the networks got pretty jammed up, and this was a really big-hearted thing for a company to do in a time like that. And Pete, I was hoping you could draw some parallels because I know that you're one of the few people that I know face to face that was a responder for the 9/11 attacks so long ago. And I know that you remember some of the media differences and how just some of the changes that occurred because of that.
Yeah, Jason, that is so. Of course, we didn't even talk about this before the program started, and I had no idea you were. That was the what you were thinking about. Like, what was the difference between the media handling? How this was huge news back at 9/11. For those of you guys that weren't uh, around in the earlier radio program sessions we had, yeah, I did. I got to do some work at Ground Zero, but the one thing that happened back then was very much like this, Jason. That what Telnet Hotspot did, everybody was just giving whatever they had to, just so that people could connect, so that it was so easy to get rides up and down Manhattan, especially if you were a responder. I got to work with the Red Cross, and so I got in right to Ground Zero, the back up. But sometimes I would need a ride back up to Midtown to get home, and people would just pick you up in vehicles, and it was just that kind of response. And so, to me, when I see you sharing this, that is the commonality of what happened back with 9/11. So many people were just ready to give something to whatever was needed, and I think that speaks to how there are no divisions or lines drawn in those moments when people come together, and it is an amazing thing to be a part of and even to witness. I'm so glad you were sharing that. As to the you know how the media was, it was such a big story. Obviously, when 9/11 happened, we hadn't been down that road before at all, and yet now this has become, unfortunately, part of the fabric for not just the United States but many nations around the world. So yeah, as you were saying that, I thought, man, I was just thinking that I'm so related to what you were saying. Definitely.
Well, you'll probably even relate to this because I believe you also had uh, loved ones and friends of friends, and you weren't entirely sure where they were when the tragedy happens. And there's a this wasn't in place back then, but it is now. Facebook has the safety check feature, and it's not something they pull out very often. But when there's this kind of a disaster, a natural disaster, man-made disaster, they offer an option that allows people to check on loved ones to see if they've been on Facebook or if there's any news about them, so that you've got some idea how your loved ones are. This was one of those times that Facebook pulled out this feature.
What a great tool. I know we're going to hit tool time later, but what a
Right.
preemptive great tool to share, because I know as a family, we always use the Find Friends feature. Like, I could know when my son takes the bus to school, or, is everybody on their way home? Like, or so-and-so wants to start dinner. You think of it in those terms, but safety check is what a great, again, this fabric of people helping out. So for Facebook to say, hey, you know what, this is something people might want to be using. And so just the fact that the network of apps and things are working this way is so encouraging. It's so cool.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and the next example isn't, I would say, new media. it's old media, but still one of those things that reminds us that the media communications industry that we're a part of is vast. It's not just internet and YouTube and Facebook. It's also moving on beyond that and as a stepping stone into the larger areas of journalism. The uh, national television network in Belgium, the very day that this happened, had some material that it shared that was specifically for parents on how to talk to their children about this. And I know that there was a lot of talk about that post 9/11. I know that anytime there's a national tragedy that I've been around to be a part of as a witness or an onlooker, this is something that comes up, and it comes up in a lot of different forms. Community gets together and talks about how they're going to talk to the children. I used to teach, as Pete did, in the public school system, and we often had to talk before we spoke to our students as a faculty how we were going to address our elementary, middle, or high school age students. But I think it's just such a useful use of the media, and especially a public TV station, to give that kind of helpful content out to parents so they know how to address these shocking images on TV with their kids. Post 9/11, the coverage just seemed to never end, and it really impacted the way a lot of people felt. And so did the events themselves. There wasn't a right or a wrong in that. Uh, I just know that we had to kind of figure out for ourselves at what point to make sure we had spoken to our children the best we could about what had happened then.
Yeah, when you think about there, any kind of support that can be given during that time. I mean, look at this. I'm looking at all three of these that are up on the screen right now. Three of, and there's probably so many more. I mean, even think of Katrina and what happened during that disaster, and what networks, what things that were available that could finally help people connect with the help that they needed as well, because it was so diverse there too. I mean, there you had um, food, water, rescue, all kinds of things, and so these disasters take on. They have sometimes very unique needs, and so it just to see these three up on that screen again, just helping people cope, deal with, address, and here just looking at it, how do you talk to your children about it, and help them understand, how do they feel about the world they're growing up in, how safe do they feel, how do they understand it, how do they process it, and so to have any support in any of these three to begin with, it's just monumental in terms of impact.
Absolutely. And the people of Brussels were encouraged to stay indoors for safety reasons. And I won't say that all of them did because they're very independent minded people, but they were at least asked to stay indoors. And when you're indoors, and you're also being asked to stay off of the telephone, they were specifically asked by their officials, their government officials, to stay off the telephone and instead to use social media, which I think is just a really telling. It's just a telling statement about our times.
Yeah.
Please
Wow,
go
what
to
a
Facebook.
difference.
Right.
Yeah, what a difference from, I know, I'm listening, and like, what a difference from just, like, because we lived through 9/11, we think we still see it as a contemporary, like it almost just happened. And yet it was a while ago, and look at the change in how social media has entrenched itself as a necessity. It's amazing to just look at this right now. Now, Jason, is that where you're heading soon, you and Shannon? Or?
Yep. It's in. We'll be landing there in a couple of weeks, and it's this very airport that was attacked that we'll be landing in. And so far, we've made no plans, no changes to our plans at all based on what's happened. We figure this is it's a tragic event, but uh, we're still going to go because this is an exciting place, and we're excited to go see these very, very brave people now more than ever.
Well, and I know you're going, you know, for what was the vacation, but I'm sure knowing the heart that you and Shannon have, you're going to have plenty to share as a follow-up to even this, you know, in a next time we're getting together, and something that we're going to be anxious to hear about when you're back. Of course, the awesome time that you have, and we're hoping you're safe. You guys just have a wonderful time. But you know, knowing the heart that the two of you have, it'll be interesting to hear sort of the follow up to this when you come back too. So be safe, and again, we hope you have a great time when you go.
Well, if all goes
Hopefully this
well,
will be.
well, thank you. Yeah, for sure. With all, if all goes well, you'll be able to help me figure out how to make a free phone call back so that I can phone in and
My
be,
pleasure.
because Shannon and I would love to be a part of the show even from a continent away in the next couple of weeks. So we'll talk about that off the
We'll make
air.
that happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
So one more thing that I'd like to bring up, a fourth item up here that the the people of Belgium unified around. And it kind of is similar to when you brought up Katrina, because there was a lot of markings and tags and flag waving that was used to indicate that help was needed. People wrote on their roofs or painted on their roofs. They stood up there and waved flags in some cases. And well, the way that you reach out for help now isn't wave a flag on top of your head. If your cell phone still works and your power still works and the levee hasn't broken, I guess the situation's different. But the people of Belgium were using the hashtag uh, I Eichel helpen. Eichel helpen. What do you think?
Wow.
You want to try that? Eichel helpen. It's Dutch. It means I want to help. And if
Thanks
you,
for helping. Yeah.
yep, if you were stuck anywhere, because they shut down all the public transportation, which a lot of people rely on. They shut down a lot of the offices that people were expecting to go to, and a lot of people found themselves stuck. And I know for a fact that somebody on our faculty, I just can't remember who, found themselves very, very stuck when this happened. And they know what it's like. I mean, it's a very frustrating thing. It's something that's scary that's going on, and you can't get to the place that you know is safe. But
Mm-hmm.
all you do now is whip out your phone and go on Twitter and ask for help and add the tag hashtag #IquilHelpin, and somebody will give you a ride home, or somebody will let you come hang out at their house until it all blows over.
Wow. Yeah. That is, you know, I remember one time I was with a team that was over uh, in Yugoslavia, actually. And at that particular point we were there, a family in the house we were staying at was saying, you guys will probably need to go, because that particular time, I think it was either late 90s or, I know President Clinton was in office, and they had a blockade. The Sixth Fleet was in the Adriatic, so we had to actually leave.
Oh wow!
And so we had to we had to go through Hungary to get back to Austria, and so, but you know, with the blockade now, you know, things like gasoline are in short supply and things, and of course, our country is doing the blockading, so we're trying to get out and then find gasoline and things. And when I see you with this, how I wish we had an I will help them. And I even had a smartphone back then. But, you know, again, I hope the audience kind of sees, look at the impact of just that short amount of time, where these hashtags and tweets and social media really have come into play, not just entertainment. They're, you know, they're sources of help, news, resources, everything. So yeah, I'm sorry that was so striking to me. I didn't mean to jump in there like
No, are you kidding? You've got the most insane stories, Pete. That you'd have to pull out your phone and tweet hashtag please send the seals or something. I don't know how you get out of that situation behind.
that. Someday I gotta write that book.
Please, please. All right. Well, it was a sad day, but a lot of good-heartedness came out of it, and media helped facilitate a lot of that. And so that's what we touched on here. And we get to jump off from here to something even lighter, one of my absolute favorite segments on the entire show, Tool Time with Pete.
I'm hoping you guys can feel the smile that is on my face right now. I am just Jason, when you said, "Hey, can we do a Tool Time? Can we?" I have this is one of those things I've missed. I just really enjoyed doing this, and so many apps have come out in the last how long, however it's been from that date you first put up there until now, and the David Letterman giving us the visual of how long that's been. But yeah, so basically, here we are, Tool Time again. So great to be doing this segment. So yeah, I have actually sort of a cornucopia then, and of course we have to bring back Tool Time Lady, who is wondering what I wouldn't do for a fun spring break resource. Now, I have to tell you something about the visual. This actually comes from the Tool Time from the closest date to March 23rd, that Tool Time edition presentation. So she was asking back then what I wouldn't do for a fun spring break app. So I just changed it to resource today. So this is connecting all the way back to those shows as well. So see, Jason, you and I didn't even talk about this, and look what we're connecting. We're bridging right back to those shows. So
did 2 years even pass? I'm not even sure if 2 years passed.
I think we look younger too. We don't look anything like David Letterman, but
exactly.
We got younger. Yeah. So, but Tool Time Lady, yes, we do. We've got a fun spring break resource, and this is something I just shared at the FETC that we had here in Florida, which is a technology conference that's here in Florida each year, and so. Yeah, this is, you've heard me talk about Symbaloo. I believe we've talked about Symbaloo in the past, and still using it. And hey, when you're using an app all that time, it's serving you well. So Symbaloo is still free, as usual. But I've added this thing called Pete's Resources. And this is what's called a webnik. Those of you that understand Symbaloo from before or don't. Symbaloo is like visual bookmarking. And so each one of these tiles that you're seeing it's like think of it like an iPad where you click on a tile and then it opens up a group. And in this case, I've got groups of resources. And so we just call it Pete's Resources. And that's how you would access it at that address there, the symbaloo.com/mix/Pete's Resources. And this is for free. Every time I update it, you will get the updates. If you belong to Symbaloo, that's free as well, as we said. You can just have these resources. So we'll click through and see just what clicking on like that images tab. Yeah, so Tool Time Lady says, well, Pete, how does it work? And so we're going to show you. So let's say you click on that. You click this guy right here, the images tab. And then you get this guy that opens up, right? I said you click the tile and a group opens up. So let's just click on Amazing Images. So Jason, with the magic of our program, is going to click and look what he just got. So how does it work again? Okay, well, then you get to this place. Once you click that other tile, you get to where there's 17 sites with images that you can get, like free stock photos. So we're going to pick the first one. You scroll down and you pick stocksnap.io. So let's see what happens when you click on that one. And it will bring us to that beautiful free stock photo screen. Then you think, I need a photo of someone on a fence. So let's say that's what you're looking for. So you type that in the search window there, and you pick this image. So there's going to be a bunch of images that come up. Let's say you pick that one. You click on that little download high-res photo, right? And so you get that image. And basically, you're happy like me. And so you can... I think, most of them are you just put in who shot the photo and you're super high res and all that. And so just think of that mix that I just put up there. That's just clicking one thing that leads you to 17 things that is like totally useful. Who can't use really good quality images these days? So, and without trying to figure out copy and all that kind of stuff. So that's just clicking one thing on that entire web mix. Again, I'm leaving you the address there Symbaloo.com/mix/Pete's resources. My goodness, there's all kinds of audio links, icons, infographics, you name it. Just go there, have fun, lots of free, really great stuff, and that is our tool time resource of the day. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Make some time to play around in there because it's a lot of fun and a lot of useful things that we even use with our students here at Full Sail. So have fun.
I'll tell you why I like this the best. I've got my own Symbaloo, Pete, because you made me love it. But I'll make a Symbaloo board, and I might not go back and visit it for a while. And when I do, maybe 10% of my resources have become paid resources, or they're dead, or they were bought by somebody and they're gone. I like that you do all the work for me. I like that you update Pete's resources. I go to Pete's resources and I'm like, I don't need to worry about this. They're Pete's resources. I know they work.
And well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jason, because that is so true, right? These guys come in with something free, and then it becomes freemium, right? Like a
Yeah.
freemium model, and then all of a sudden you're paying for it, or they want you to pay for it, and then you're like, I got to go find something else.
Yep.
So that is one of the things we do with Pete's Resources. And if I miss one, please email me. Get a hold of me, and just say, Pete, this one needs to go. It's not free anymore, or I clicked the link and it's not working. And we constantly monitor this thing and we clean it up. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, we will. We'll do that work for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Are you kidding? I mean, really. It's the images, the audio, the so many things. In my class in particular, there's two assignments where the students need all of it. And I straight up give them that resource so they can go and dig into it. I mean, I could list everything, but there's really no reason with it all in one place like that.
Yeah, well, and if you guys want us to add things, again, please let us know. We will add it to the WebMix if it makes your life easier. That's really why we love this tool so much. And again, it's free. So, yeah, most of us live by that motto. If it's free, it's me. And so we are happy to maintain this. Thanks for letting me present that to you.
Oh, are you kidding? That was spectacular. And actually, with that, Pete, it brings us up to the very end, where if we had some closing audio, I'd cue it right now, and we would be on our way out because that's the end of our very first show after the reboot.
We'll see you guys soon. Great being here again with you.